left a comment when today's question in r/askreddit, parents of Reddit, what is the creepiest thing your kid/kids has ever said or done? Before we begin, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more daily uploads. And now, into the video. My husband is a farmer. One night he asked me to pick him up after working ground, and it was pretty late, around 10 o'clock. So I loaded our two girls up, then 4 and 2, and headed to the field. We get to the field and see he's finishing up his last round, so we had to wait for a minute. I rolled the windows down in the van and shut the engine off. After a few minutes, my 2-year-old says, "Mommy, who's that man outside?" I said, "I don't see a man. Is your Ken doll on the floor?" My 4-year-old then piped up, "He's right outside your door and staring at you. He's scary. He has blood on his face." That's when I turned the key, rolled the windows up, locked the doors, and called my husband to hurry the heck up because the girls are terrified and there's apparently a scary man outside my door that I can't see, but both girls are describing him and what he's doing. Thankfully, C was done and heading up to the van at that moment, and we left. My girls are now 5 and 7, and they both still remember that man and refuse to go to that particular field. I have to ask my mother-in-law to watch them when I need to pick their daddy up from there now. My 3-year-old, while eating dinner, told me there was a man on the balcony with red eyes with his mouth gaping open, like a scream face. We live on the 3rd floor, and the only access to that balcony is from inside. Needless to say, I didn't turn around. He said so much weird things. We live in a really old apartment, and I don't believe in ghosts, but he creeps me out. Edit, he's also mentioned a little boy upside down, scratching at the ceiling, just casually like it was nothing. In the meantime, I'm pooping myself. I've always been careful about not watching anything scary or reading scary books, but as soon as she was old enough to really talk, about 2.5, she told us randomly one day, "I used to live in a different house with a mommy and brother named John. I was older than I am now. One day, I was on a bridge looking into the water when a witch came up and scratched my eyes out. I fell in the water and drowned, and then I came to you." I don't believe in past lives or anything, and I know kids are just highly suggestible, but that gave me the dang creeps. About 8 years ago, my daughter, who was 5 at the time, woke up in the middle of the night crying and yelling, almost screaming, around 3 a.m. I went in, bleary-eyed, and sat on the side of her bed. My daughter is an eloquent and linguistically advanced little thing, but she was pretty much reduced to a blubbering, quivering mass of terror. She was clearly horrified by something, and just put her head down on my leg and sobbed. She did so for several minutes, with me just patting her back and holding her. She eventually calmed down. I asked her if she had a bad dream. She told me that she didn't think that she had been dreaming, but that there had been someone looking in her window, and it really frightened her. I got a little spark of anger. We've had some teenagers messing around in our backyard a few times at night, and if they worked up the balls to climb up the wall and look in, that was bad. My daughter's window is about 9 feet off the ground, and it's a sheer brick wall leading up to it, but you can climb it with a bit of effort. A run and then a grab on the bottom of the window will get you started. I thought that I had frightened off this group of teenagers by stepping out on the back porch with a large gherkin knife a few weeks before, but apparently I had not. I went on, dispelling my assumption. "Daddy, it wasn't those boys. He was just standing on the ground looking in." As I mentioned, her window was 9 feet off the ground. "And there was something wrong with his hands. His hands were really..." She paused, looking for a word. Then she frowned and started crying again. Long and strange." She cried hard again for a second, then kind of stuttered out, "His face was long and wrong too." I held up my hand and asked if the long hands were like mine. She said no and put her one hand on the base of my hand, then the other about 3 or 4 inches from the tips of my fingers. "This long," she said, "but not as wide, Daddy. I'm scared." So to recap, my daughter woke me up by screaming and crying, then informed me she saw effing Slender Man in the backyard, and that she was scared and he was strange and long. I was sleepy and had suddenly become convinced that there was a monster in the backyard. It's a lot easier to believe things in 3 a.m. So I did the hardest thing I've ever had to do as a dad. I smiled and said, "Kiddo, I think it was all a dream. I will look in the backyard though, okay?" Internal voice, "This is how horror movies start. Don't do it." She said, okay, because there's nothing bigger and stronger than Daddy. She actually managed to smile at me and lay back down in bed, secure in the knowledge that everything was fine. I got out the same huge Gurkha knife and went to the kitchen, which has an exit to the back porch. I turned on the backlights. In the backyard there was nothing. Nothing was there, because it was all just a dream. She had a creepy, distressing dream, and she has a gift with language that made me think that it was real, and it scared the bejesus out of me. I went back to her room and told her that everything was okay and that I would keep her safe. I held her until she slept, and then I went back to bed. I lay awake, staring at the window until my other daughter woke up at 6 for the morning. Who is 3, he keeps referring to any woman he sees as tasty. We would be watching a movie and he would point out a woman and says, "She is tasty." What he means is that she is beautiful. I can't even walk out with him outside because I'm afraid he might point out to some woman's head that she is tasty. Napped me on the couch, and then my 3-year-old was standing there with a toy felt saw. I woke up to him saying, "I'm going to saw mommy's head off." Nope. His daughter usually stands beside my bed at night. When she was 5 years old, she already had long black hair. The creepy part was that she just stood there, not even tried to wake me or my wife up. She were just standing there for 2 or 3 hours watching us. When she finished looking at us, she'd go back to her bed and sleep like nothing happens. That was a really creepy time of my life. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night because of an urgent need to pee and looking directly at her eyes. Walking my daughter in front of the open closet door, she kept looking around me and laughing. I asked her what was so funny. She said, "The man," to which I replied, "What man?" She then pointed at the closet and said, "The man with the snake neck." I turned around and nothing was there. I'm afraid to look into the history of my house to see if anyone hung themselves in the closet. At least she wasn't scared. My niece and nephew were 13 and 15 at the time, and we were watching them for my brother-in-law while he was out of town. At about 3 a.m., I get shaken and awake to 2 visible upset teens who start sobbing about a dead woman trying to get into my niece's bedroom window. This jolts my husband out of bed in a hurry. He grabs his handgun and tells me to stay with the kids. They live in a mobile home that sits on risers, so this window is roughly 9 feet at its base. He goes down the hallway and I hear him shout, "What the F?" and run back to the front door and outside. Now the niece and nephew are losing their minds, not wanting their uncle getting hurt, so I call the cops and walk to the door to see what's going on. The dead woman was in fact a woman hopped out of her mind on who knows what, naked, and she did very much look like a corpse. She had been standing on the roof of my truck trying to see in the windows. His friend hit a bubble and it split into 2 bubbles. She said it gave birth and was romantic. Then she popped them and said, "Murder is more romantic." Okay. The video monitor to make sure my 2-year-old daughter was finally asleep since she hadn't made any noise in a while. I see her standing up in her crib. She slowly bends over to the side, cocks her head towards her knee, and says, "Hi." How did she know I was looking at the monitor at that exact moment? Plus, the way she bent at the waist looked humanly impossible, and the night vision function made her eyes look so creepy. Ugh, that gave me the chills. 7-year-old told me that his old family died in a fire with him, and now he has a new family, ours. He told me the names of his siblings and what his parents looked like, what the house looked like when he died. So much detail. I wrote it all down as he talked, and after he went to bed, I looked it up. Everything he said matched to this one old news story. Everything he said fit. This news story I'd never even heard before, and it was about 1.5 years before he was even conceived. Weird. My son was around 2 years old, and randomly one night, he started to freak out. I tried to calm him down and was asking him what was wrong. He pointed at the bedroom window and said the woman on fire was going to take him. I don't believe in ghosts, demons, or anything like that, but I was kinda sketched out. Posted 4. My 4-year-old son had a habit of announcing when he had to use the bathroom. He would say, "I gotta go potty." One time he makes his business known and heads off towards the bathroom. He returns a second later and says, "There's already someone in the bathroom." Now, I do know for a fact that it's just the 2 of us at home, so the hair stands up on my neck. I ask him, "What do you mean?" He repeats, "There's already someone in the bathroom." Now I'm thinking, is it someone I see dead people or someone in a hockey goalie mask? If you like that r/askreddit video, please like, comment, and subscribe. The support is greatly appreciated. Also, turn that notification bell on to never miss a new video, and to continue the conversation in the comment section down below.